Hello everybody, welcome back. I've got another Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions job breakdown for you. So this time we're talking Time Mage. I'll be honest, I'm I like the Time Mage abilities, but you know, if you don't have a good faith stat, it's going to be tough to land them. Basically, the you know, how successful you are here is dependent on the caster's faith as well as the I guess like receiver's faith or faith, right? So the more faith that you've got, as well as the more faith that the target has, the more likely it is to land. So I mean, here's a at 40 faith, I'm only having a 31% chance to land haste. So that is pretty low. There are a lot of ways to improve your faith stat, but just know that that is what's determining that. So I think the difference between haste, let me just check here, between haste and haste ja, yeah, of course, is the vertical component. So again, easier to land haste ja on multiple people because it does add that, you know, vertical component to it. Slow is a good spell. You know, though. So, and I'll just add one thing here. I think I mentioned this also in the White Mage guide that I did as well. I don't really love the getting stats this way, or I'm sorry, buffs this way, because they fall off eventually. You know, that doesn't mean that they're not useful at all, but I just prefer to get like haste from gear, and there are, you know, there's a couple of pieces of gear in the game that has haste on it. So, you know, if you're looking for buffs, try to get it from your gear, and then but also though that's not really an option at the beginning of the game because the gear is just terrible. So this is, you know, just not something that that you're going to be able to get. But anyways, so. Slow, much like haste, right? Actually, it looks like they've got the same cost, yeah, and same speed as well. And then the upgraded Slowja, I say upgraded, but it takes longer to cast, but also it's easier to use, right? Because it's got a vertical component as well, so easier to land multiple slows on your target. Stop. Now, stop is absolutely amazing. Basically just prevents them from doing literally anything. They have to just sit there and take the beating that you know, throw at them. The radius is 2, vertical 0. So again, this is another one of those that you know, it's going to be hard to land on multiple enemies if you're trying to cast, unless you're on, you know, flat ground, because there's no vertical component to this. But amazing spell. This is great for, you know, let's just say you're JP farming, and you want to, or you know, basically you've got one enemy left. Well, you can just cast stop on it to make sure that it's not doing anything. Honestly, it's not the best way to JP farm, in my opinion, but it is one of the options that you can use. So stop is actually also good for if you're using a bunch of like casters, or let's just say you've got like a dragoon, right? Stop is good because the enemy won't move, right? And obviously it won't do anything to either. The same kind of scenario here is probably truthful with immobilize as well. It basically just keeps the enemy from moving, right? So it's easier to land things like charged up attacks or jumps or spells. You know, you don't want them to you don't want to target the enemy and then have it walk into your allies, right? So this is another really good ability. Also another one of those that's pretty decent for you know, if you want to JP farm. It can be, you know, it can keep enemies away from you, I suppose. Float, honestly, I'm not impressed with float. Allows the target to float a height of 1 height above the ground. I don't know. This keeps you safe from traps, I guess, you know, but I don't know. Float is very situational, and yeah, I don't know. You're probably not going to be casting this much. Reflect is interesting. So this does probably exactly what you think it does, or it sounds like it does. It will reflect spells. This gets a little weird, though, in that I believe that when the spell reflects, it will sometimes target other squares around you, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been forever since I've used Reflect, but it's another one of those abilities that honestly I don't use that much. There actually is a piece of armor that has the Reflect status on it, which is kind of interesting. It's a heavy heavy piece of armor that I think you probably get around Chapter 4, so pretty early on in Chapter 4. But yeah, kind of interesting, and it can keep your your heavy armor using characters safe from spells. So interesting ability. Quick time magic that hasten the localized passage, causing the target's turn to come more quickly. Honestly, I don't use quick that much, but it is an interesting ability. I feel like it almost feels sometimes like a waste, though, right? Like, okay, cool, you can get somebody's turn to come up faster, but like, why not just do something else on your turn and let them get their turn? I'm just not a big fan, honestly, of quick, but it's an interesting ability anyway. So here is gravity, time magic that conjures up a supermassive field inflicting damage with powerful gravitational forces. I believe this does percentage-based damage. Yes, 20. Wait, do I have the right one here? I gotta make sure that I've got the right spell. Yeah, gravity. Gravity is 25% of the target's maximum HP. This is pretty brutal. Pretty brutal for the, I mean, really everybody, right? 25% is 25%, but you get really good returns on this by casting this on like some of the bosses. I don't know though if any of the bosses are immune to this. I don't feel like they are. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of. I don't think there are. But yeah, a great. It's a great spell. And also great for some of the monsters towards the end of the game that start to get up into the 700-800 health range, so that can really take a good chunk out of them. Gravaja is basically just an upgraded version. This deals 50% of the target's maximum HP, so literally will half shot anything. So definitely a cool ability. Meteor is pretty nuts here. 70 MP, unfortunately, so very expensive, but also very slow with a speed of 5. You can get hit by this also with friendly fire, if you notice there. So if I cast here, I could actually take damage from this. But the effect, or the area, is gigantic too. Again, the problem here is that it's slow, but that's kind of what you get. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the reaction abilities and stuff here. Did I go through everything? Yeah, I did. All right, so that's all of the skills. I still think haste will be very, very useful. Like of these abilities, I think that the most useful is like haste and then stop. Honestly, gravity. The gravity spells can be really great for the bosses as well. So. Critical quick. Receive an immediate turn when critically wounded. So this is a pretty cool ability that basically gives you a turn if something knocks you into critical status. This goes off of your bravery stat as well as are most of the reaction abilities in the game. So you've got a well, if you're at 97 brave, which is easy to get easy-ish. It takes a little bit of work, to be honest, but easy-ish to get that, or to get your characters permanently there. So then you have a 97% chance then of, casting or basically getting your turn immediately when you take critical damage. Now, honestly, not one of my favorite reaction abilities, but it is pretty interesting. And there's some goofy tricks with critical quick that you can take advantage of to give you like infinite like loops, right, where you're triggering quick whenever like an ally is casting something. Again, I've never messed around with that because it just takes it takes a bit of time to set up and stuff. So But it's interesting nonetheless. It's a pretty interesting skill. Mana Shield is actually really good here too. So damage is dealt to MP rather than HP, and that will trigger up until the point that you run out of MP. You know, so yeah, just as long as you've got 1 MP, this'll work. This can be really good for certain well, I guess really, I mean, generally it's a good ability, but also like it can come in handy for the whatchamacallit battle, the Eldibs, right? Eldibs, the final battle of the Midlight Steep, because you can actually use this to kind of keep you safe from the Zodiac spell if you're trying to learn that. So interesting ability. Swiftness is amazing. Generally, if you're going to be spending any time casting spells, I think Swiftness is a good ability. Just a passive that shortens your charge time. So, you know, it makes you know, casting a lot more desirable. I generally in tactics don't like the casters, honestly, because I don't like charge times. I think I've been over that quite a few times, but yeah. Anyways, it is an amazing skill, and again, if you're planning on doing any sort of charge, and I should say cast times, though, right? It's not just charge times. I feel like I need to point that out. This does not help you out with jump, aim, bard song, or dance, because they're not casting, right? They are charging. So again, it's about casting. It should have probably, the description should have been more accurate and said, you know, shorten cast time. So all right, anyways, teleport, interesting ability here. So teleport lets you teleport around anywhere. The key though to this, no, I don't have it equipped. That's a shame. Oh, I should have equipped it to show you, but basically you can always move up to your movement stat. So my movement stat right here is, I think it's 6. Yeah, move 6. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the time. Well, not there, right? That's a bad spot. But to like right here. And then for every tile that you try to move beyond that, you have a 10% chance of failing. So this would be a 10% chance to fail here, 20% chance of failing here. But it is interesting because you can move beyond your movement stat if you feel the need to. Now it also makes it so that it basically completely nullifies your the height requirements, right? So let's just say that you can get up here, right? Now normally we can just jump up this high, but yeah, this is probably this level right here is not a good example, right? Because anywhere that we can go, we can just jump to anyway. But you can basically run straight at a mountain and then just go up to, well, I guess you're not running, right? You're just literally teleporting up there. So basically, again, it nullifies the vertical component to the movement. So very, 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 very useful for getting around. Let's take a look here. I think they've got one more ability, right, for movement. Yes, levitate. Honestly, I think this is worthless. Move while floating a height of 1 above the ground. I don't find this to be a useful ability at all. So that is it. Let's get out of here and we'll talk about equipment, which will go pretty quickly because they are pretty limited in what they can equip. I've got a bag on right now, but basically they use the staffs, so same weapons as the White Mage. Dreamwalker being the best in the War of the Lions version. Hats, same deal. They just can't equip heavy hats, right? And this is a female unit, so I'm able to use those hairpins. Armor. So again, same thing as the other casters so far. Light armor as well as robes. So, if you're planning on casting a lot of spells, probably put a robe on. If you're not, if you want to be a little bit more beefy or have a little bit more HP, you can go with the lighter armor. So that is that for the Time Mage. Again, very, very interesting class. You know, really a good buffer, and that's kind of their intent. But as long as you've got good faith stats. Now, obviously, also, you know, whether or not your buffs are successful also is a component of your zodiac symbol. So the typical, you know, I guess rundown for the casters in the game. Also, you know, swiftness. I would argue that swiftness is the best skill that comes from this job because it helps all of the casters. So that is it for Time Mage. As always, I hope the guide was helpful and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.